You good?
Yep.
Hit the music, Caitlin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good, and welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. We are back. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. To my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how's it going, buddy? Welcome back. How's your vacation?
Buddy, this is how it went. My kids, Logan and Alina, won their elementary school championship in overtime against the best team by a score of 4-3. And I was so exhausted after that game. I literally just sat down on the bench while they all celebrated at sunrise. It was a cool moment. Didn't really hit me until the next morning when I was sitting on a plane going to Disney World. I was like, oh, we won that thing last night. That was pretty cool. Then I spent a week in Disney with my family, which we were very fortunate. It was really funny, Ray, because I had to turn to my children and kind of tell them, listen, kids, because they didn't know we were going to Disney until we were at the airport.
Oh, that's awesome.
They had no clue. They just knew we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to them kind of nicely, like, listen, you got to have a lot of gratitude and understand that it's extremely unlikely that you will win a big championship and go to Disney World.
Yes.
It doesn't happen that often. Going to Disney World doesn't happen that often.
Yes.
Right? But winning a championship and then going to Disney World, that doesn't happen that often. So it was a great week for them. We did a lot of great stuff. Top rides by far, Rise of the Resistance. Was very skeptical because of the storyline, but never have been on a ride quite like that before. Easily my top pick. Second pick, Mickey Mouse Runaway Roller Coaster, which again, very similar to Rise of the Resistance in terms of how the ride is made.
Right.
But really enjoyed those. I've also realized I've reached the age where, spinny rides, not a thing for me anymore. Also got to be really careful with any kind of motion capture. Maybe a couple proud moments. My daughter dragged me on Star Tours 4 times.
That's awesome.
And I kept going because I'm like, the more Star Tours, Star Wars stuff you get, the better. And they have redone Star Tours. So the last time was at Disney, Ray, it was the original Star Tours, which was very okay.
Yes.
But they have redone it now with C-3PO being the main person. And there are 66 different options in the ride. So you can keep riding it and get a different experience each time.
Yep.
But after the 4th time, I was like, that's enough. And then we stopped. But wonderful time at Disney. But Ray, I want to tell the audience, we are recording this very early. It's 8:00 in Los Angeles.
Yes.
It's late morning here, 11:00. And when you have an early show, Ray, you need Dunkin'. But today, yes, you got your Dunkin', right? But today's non-sponsor of the week for Geeks Who Like Sports is a place I've come to enjoy. As you know, I lived in Northern Jersey for many years, Ray. And when you live in Northern Jersey and New York area, you come to like bagels.
Yes.
You come to like Manhattan Bagel. So today's sponsor is Manhattan Bagel, who is providing my morning coffee, which I'm pouring into my Geeks Who Likes mug right now. Geeks Who Like Sports mug. If you're watching this, you can see the hot coffee coming up. Yes. And Ray, this one's for you. I'm going to congratulate you, Ray, on being my best friend for upwards of 20 years. It's over 20 years now.
It's been over 20 years.
We are now a legal friendship, 21 years. And as I said to you before the show, I was driving over here today, and I realized that your name, Ray Carcillo, for years I could have been calling you. You ready for the eye roll, folks? Ray Carcilli. And it hit me today, 21 years later, I could have been calling you Carcilli, which really kind of works. Kind of works for you, but you're not 7 years old.
No.
So here's to you, Ray Carcilli, and me, Lee P., which is what they called me in elementary school, on a great show today.
Cheers. Also, producer Caitlin, if you're going to spell it Carcilli, it should be Carsilli, right? Like, because then it would still be like Italian.
No. We're going to go with the way she did it. It's silly. Like, you're silly, Ray. And I mean, like, here's a cool thing, man. When you were a kid, it's like cars and silly. You would have been a hero if we had thought of this 40 years ago. 30 years ago. But
I don't know if I'd be the hero, but
you're my hero, Ray. You're my hero. Okay. So great time at Disney World. Great job on the championship. Ray Carcilli and Manhattan Bagel. Thanks for the coffee this morning. Non-sponsor of the week.
Yes, as always, mine is Dunkin'. I got my Dunkin' cold brew. And that's the thing. I didn't realize the kids did not know that they were going to Disneyland World, because I was going to ask, did you do the thing where you told the kids, you just won the championship? What are you going to do now? And do the whole thing with them? But
I was very tempted. I was very, very tempted. But it's like we had gone for months without telling them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of asked Janet, my wife, and it's like, no, we should go as long as we can to see how long it's going to take.
Right.
Right.
You got to commit to. You've committed to the bit. At that point, you got to
right.
follow.
Now, several adults knew we were going there.
That's great.
And so I was going around as the coach, being like, I just won the elementary school championship. I'm going to Disney World. It was funny for me, but no, the kids figured it out, and then we had a good time. Actually, a good friend of ours, Ray. Her name is not Tori Panetta anymore; it's Tori Marks now. And the trip for my family. She is a Disney vacations planner. She was awesome. She did everything. I'm talking about the ride from the airport. Every day was mapped out for us. Every restaurant was mapped out for us.
Wow.
It really did everything for us and sent us some surprise gifts before the trip, which my kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Tori Marks is a Disney planner. Highly recommend her. This is becoming another non-sponsor of the week, but I'm doing it right now. Literally, she made the trip easy, all inclusive, and I didn't have to think about anything really, other side from what ride I wanted to go on. So,
well, that's great. And Tori's fantastic. Tori's always been great, Mister.
She always has been great, and I'll tell you what, she has always loved Disney. Like, and from the day I met her 20 years ago. Sorry, audience. Sorry, Tori. She loved Disney then, and I remember when I decided to do this, I said, I was Back to the Future mode. I was like, there's only one woman that can help me. And then the music started, and I ran to her, and she planned the trip. So thank you, Tori.
Nice. She's a fellow April baby, if I remember correctly.
I thought you were going to say broadcasting department.
Well, she is. She lives in the broadcasting department alone. But I was going to say because our editor, associate producer Zavi is also an April baby. It was his birthday on April Fool's.
Yeah, we just had a birthday cake for him here this morning. We did.
Yeah, happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday to Savi, our editor. Happy birthday to Ray. I believe your birthday is coming up.
In 6 days. Yes.
6 days, Ray will be not 40.
Yeah, no, not quite there yet. There yet. Getting dangerously as close as you can get without being 40. But
yeah, you know what happened was, buddy, I turned 40 and then it was just the next day, and it didn't. Everything did kind of start hurting though. It was weird. I think maybe it's always been hurting, but now I have the excuse. It's great.
Right. Yes, I was gonna say a lot of stuff started hurting for me at like 33. So
yeah. Hey, it's a young show. Listen, we're just talking to our target audience here. You guys all know what we're talking about.
Yes, no, absolutely.
We're a Xenial show.
Yes, but this is not going to be the whole show. We do have a lot to talk to you about. It has been a busy couple of weeks while Lee has been away, so we've got a lot to break down. We've got a lot of geek stuff. We've got Ghostbusters. We've got X-Men. We've got video games. We've got WrestleMania. We've got football.
You can say it better than that.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, we can't do it that way anymore, but yes.
No.
Yes.
But WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was very Carcilli of you to do it that way. It's going to be a reoccurring theme on the show today. Could you do it in maybe like a Macho Man voice? Can you do Macho Man?
Oh yeah, WrestleMania.
Hey, that's
good. Where the crop rises to the top, and the Macho Man is gonna put the world title on the line.
Yeah, I see. There you go. Now I'm feeling like yeah. I can't wait for us. We have to say that. Yeah. We can't talk like The Rock because he's cursing so much. But we'll get to that.
We will get into all of that. Yeah, and again, we got hockey, basketball, football, even some football news. But we're gonna kick things off, Lee, as hope springs eternal.
Say it in his Pokemon name. Say it in his Pokemon. You have to do it now. Every time we say his name.
It's baseball season, and we have to talk about Ohtani.
It makes even more sense now with what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in baseball. We have a lot of baseball stuff.
Oh, Ray, there's nothing going on in baseball, but I'll explain that in a minute.
The biggest thing going on right now is probably still the ramifications of the gambling scandal that has engulfed the Los Angeles Dodgers and specifically their superstar Shohei Ohtani. He basically, there was a statement made to like ESPN about a potential story about some funds moving back and forth.
Idiots.
And then the very next day, he retracted his statement, changed his statement, and threw his translator under the bus for about the sum of saying that his translator took $4 million from him to pay off his gambling debts and make gambling. And basically, nobody believes him now. You can't, you make one statement and then you change it the next day. It looks really suspicious. Obviously, especially nowadays, there is so much scrutiny over all these athletes. There are so many more athletes than ever before that have been caught for gambling on their own games, gambling on league games. Particularly in the NFL, it's happened a lot. We've also seen it in basketball. There's actually a huge thing. A couple of Toronto Raptors have been suspended in the NBA while they're being investigated for gambling on themselves. It has become an epidemic. Probably because, everything in sports now is brought to you by DraftKings and FanDuel and all these other ridiculous and terrible gambling sites. And so it's not a surprise that maybe Mr. Ohtani got involved in this. But in baseball, that's a lifetime ban. And as Pete Rose then very quickly jumped on and said, boy, do I wish I had a translator in the 70s. Ohtani threw his translator under the bus. Yeah. Supposedly his best friend. Supposedly the guy that he's right. That'd be like me being like, hey, Lee, you're gonna take the fall for all my gambling debt, buddy, because I ain't going to jail and I ain't getting banned from the league. So
yeah, I would do it for you. I would do it for you.
That's true, because I would probably still slip you money on the side or on something like.
This is not a hard. Ray, would you like me to tell you and the audience exactly how this is going to play out?
Oh yeah, please. I mean, I already have an idea of how it's going to play, but please, Lee, give us the play-by-play.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. If the MLB has taught me anything over the last 20 years, it's that it's the most hypocritical league on the planet.
Yes.
Okay, so this is how this will play out. Mm-hmm. The MLB executives, the owners, the people that run the league are not going to allow the greatest baseball player potentially in history to not play the game. Yeah. All right, they've already saw that. It's too much money. They can't do it. Therefore, Ohtani, who is absolutely lying, 100% lying, will have no repercussions or a slap on the hand at best.
Yeah.
His friend will take the fall. In fact, the owners, the managers probably told him, this is what you're going to do. Your interpreter is going to take the fall for this. You're going to slip him a few $1 million a year for doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And you will be scot-free. Everyone will talk about it, but opening day has passed. The baseball season has started, and you are already seeing that people are not talking about it too much anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
So nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. Again, at worst, a slap on the wrist. They are not going to keep the best paid player in baseball from playing baseball, especially for one of the top two teams in the league, meaning the Yankees and the Dodgers. They won't allow it to scar the game because at the end of the day, my friends, professional sports is an entertainment business.
Yes.
And they do not care about playing fair as long as your butt is in the seat and you are watching it on TV. And they are not going to remove the greatest baseball player potentially of all time from that operation. So therefore, nothing will happen. We will continue to play baseball. And I have come to be somewhat at peace that baseball is a hypocritical league. And let's just play ball, right? Because it's not going to do anything. If they want to make this right, honestly, put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. And everything will be forgiven. You hypocritical bastards.
Well, and then that's the thing, right? Is that, let's shoeless Joe Jackson and his legacy back in the game. And it's time at this point. If you're going to take all this money from all these gambling sites, and then again, and it's going to come out. I guarantee you, once Ohtani's retired, it's going to come out absolutely 100% that he was lying, right? Like, it's just a matter of delaying it till after he's retired. This is just another black eye in baseball. It's another black eye on Rob Manfred.
They just think they're invincible, dude. They think nothing can stop them, and it's really stupid. But that guy has literally the most money ever paid in a baseball uniform ever. So it's not going to matter. And yeah, you're right. It's hypocritical. It's horrible. And I do like the people are bringing forward that like the league can take money from these sites, but the players can't partake. Hypocritical and stupid. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. It's basically we're on the same page as usual.
Nothing will happen. Yeah, nothing will happen.
And the thing is, and this isn't the only black eye right now on baseball. As we've continued to talk about many times here on the show, we're gonna head up the California coast from Los Angeles to Oakland, California. This is a really interesting thing that's going on up there. There's the city of Oakland is reaching out to the A's. Of course, there's a huge history there. The Athletics, who started in Philly, went to Kansas City, and now has spent most of their history in Oakland. The city is like, look, we get that the lease is running out. We're going to try and cut you a deal. We don't want you to go for the next 3 years while the stadium is built in Vegas to Sacramento, right? Where, by the way, you'll probably lose your cable deal. You're obviously not going to get nearly nobody's going to go to those games either. Oakland has reached out. They said, we will extend the lease for you for an extra 5 years in the Oakland Coliseum. This also gives you some leeway if the stadium in Vegas takes a little extra time. $20 million a year you pay us. And also at the end, you also give you all the ownership that you have in the Oakland Coliseum. You give it back to the city. This way we can do what we want with the stadium and whatnot. So, and in exchange, and this is a good deal because in exchange, remember, that also means that Oakland will keep their TV rights in Oakland, which is worth $300 million, right? Like even for a bad franchise, the TV rights is still worth a ton of money.
Right.
And all this. And the owner of the A's is kind of like, yeah, I'll think about it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I want to go to Sacramento. And by the way, Sacramento has said, we don't want the Athletics here. We don't want you here. We don't want you in a minor league stadium. We don't want you. So, and by the way, and now Vegas is saying they don't want the Athletics either. So this might be the best deal for the Athletics as that deal continues to get wrinkled out. But Lee, I mean, this is actually, I'm a little bit of a surprising olive branch from the city. I think it's more just a play. I think to get the rights to the stadium back, or all of the rights to the stadium that Fisher owns a chunk of. What are your thoughts on the city of Oakland reaching out to the Athletics here, as it might be a swan song for the franchise in that city?
Well, I think it's a great PR move for the city of Oakland to let the fan base of Oakland know, hey, we're trying. Don't hate on us. We didn't do anything wrong here, right? Which is smart PR. I think it also opens the door for baseball to return there one day and kind of Oakland saying, look, this is not us doing this. This is the A's.
Well, and that's also, by the way, that's part of the deal as well, is that Oakland has also reached out to Major League Baseball that if they were to do this, they want a 1-year exclusivity right. If baseball decides to expand, they want a chance to bring one of those expansion franchises to Oakland.
Right. The A's have just been a marketing nightmare the last 3 seasons. I mean, people are boycotting going to games, and that's not good. So this deal works if they can get the fan base to show up. And if the A's are smart, what they'll do is they'll do okay, it's time to show us that you want Oakland A's baseball to stay here.
Yeah.
Right. You've got 5 seasons to prove it. Right. They don't have to go anywhere. And then they come out looking like the hero. And if the fans don't show up, they still come out looking like the hero. Yeah. Right. So we'll see what happens here. But like in these multi-billion-dollar transactions, there's a lot of politics, and like no business owner, unfortunately, at that level is just going to say yes right away. It makes you look weak. So they'll go back and forth on this. But I mean, everyone can win here if they play their cards right, because the A's fans are so jaded. Right.
Yeah, and understandably so. And this actually broke yesterday. I'm not sure if you heard this, to continue to harp on how bad the ownership is for the Athletics and how Fisher is an absolute scumbag. And honestly, you want to talk about the ownership group of baseball needing to do what's right. The right thing would be, even if the A's move to Vegas, is to expel this guy from the league.
Yeah.
Basically,
that won't
yesterday,
happen, though, because baseball is the most hypocritical league on the planet.
100%. The Athletics don't have a great roster. Right. This has been part of their move to Vegas, has been to kind of gut the team and try to make them as uncompetitive as possible. But they still have a couple of guys who have some diamonds in the rough, as it were. Brent Rooker, who came out of nowhere last year, their left fielder DH, who put together a very nice year. Esteury Ruiz, who is a speedster in center field, who started the season 3 for 7. They think he's going to win a stolen base crown at some point, which, by the way, if you know the history of Oakland Athletics, is a big deal, going back to Ricky Henderson, right? Ruiz was sent down to the minors yesterday, and Brent Rooker was benched. And the rumor is because the A's are trying to not only continue to lose, but even lose with the guys who could help them win right now. And part of the reason why those guys in particular were punished is supposedly they were wearing bracelets made by a company that was part of the protest against the Athletics ownership. So because there were obviously been a lot of protests in Oakland against athletic ownership, save the A's, keep the A's in Oakland, because these players wore material from local businesses that were part of the protests. Again, supporting Oakland, supporting the city they're a part of. And again, this is all hearsay. It's all rumor. But 1 + 1 does equal 2. Oh, they wore these bracelets. They were part of that from these companies that were part of the protests. And then suddenly a kid who has a lot of potential gets sent back to AAA, and you're one legit, maybe future star in the team gets benched. It looks really curious, Oakland. And you're not fooling anybody. And Lee, I just want to get your thoughts on the Oakland Athletics, not even trying to hide the fact now that they're just trying to lose 120 games again.
this is my take and my problem.
Mm.
I get very annoyed and upset when any team in professional sports loses sight on what their role is in professional sports. And I am going to use a hometown team. I'm going to use my Phillies as an example.
Mm.
Over the last 5 seasons, they have just nailed understanding our fan base, understanding us. Bryce Harper has been a huge part of that, and understanding how important this team is to the city and how important the city is to the team and the people are to the team, right? People love the Phillies in Philly again, all right? And I'm going to remind you, this is the losingest franchise in professional sports historically, okay? There's some kid in Oakland that knows nothing about what's going on and just wants to go to a baseball game with his parents or his uncle or whatever. And it's not going to happen now because these idiots have completely lost sight of what's important. Right. And this has always been my problem with billionaires when they lose sight of reality. Not every one of them has, but they just completely lose sight about what's going on. It's all about them, the egomaniacs involved. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So whether you're leaving or not, like there's a way to do it. And this is just so stupid. And unfortunately, it's kind of par for the course for Oakland of just cheap, horrible decision-making, bare minimum thinking. And I hate it. Yep. All right. And it's like, I have no respect for that. It's like what the Marlins used to do. Marlins are a different team now than they were 20 years ago. I will give them that. Yeah. But what they would do to their fan base, it's no different than what WB is doing, right? Yep. It's like the same scenario to me. I don't understand any entertainment organization that does not devote themselves to their fan base. Yeah. And I'm going to say this, it's always your fault. It's not the fans' fault that they don't want to show up. That's your fault. Yeah. So,
well, and again, the A's fans showed it last year. They did the reverse protest and sold out the stadium.
I know. It just shows you how powerful the people are, and it's so stupid, Ray. It's just it's so dumb, so dumb. It's brilliant. No, it's just dumb. Yeah, right. It's a shame. It's a shame, and like honestly, look, someone's gonna win the Vegas sweepstakes on baseball, and that team's gonna do good for 100 years. Absolutely. And again, I think that the owners of the A's had a little bit of Vegas glitter in their eyes there. And look, from a business standpoint, I understand it. I can understand the draw of Vegas.
Sure.
But they underestimated this entire situation. And look, when you have crappy leadership, if crappy leadership follows the team to Vegas, they'll still be a crappy team.
Yeah, well, and that's why, again, I really think that even if the A's do move to Vegas, I think it would be good for baseball to get rid of Fisher as the owner.
It won't happen. And that's
it won't, but it should.
When you look at the Golden Knights and the Raiders and the well, obviously the Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup. Yeah. All right. And the Raiders are trending upwards.
Yes.
All right. Yes. I mean, it's only a matter of time. And like, look, Vegas is a great sports city. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how young they are. I've been super impressed with that. I think people often forget that there is a massive population there that's not visiting.
Yeah. No, there's like 3 million people in the surrounding area.
Right. It's a major city outside of the Strip. Yeah. All right. And a major military city too. Right. Yep. So there's always people coming and going. But I just, I can't stand when people do this. And, I think of the great owners in sports like Mark Cuban, who really understood the Mavs fan base and wanted to bring them back, right? You see what's happening with Philadelphia Flyers right now with Daniel Briere and Keith Jones, revitalized the entire organization to a point now that the fans are being ridiculous about where we are at in the standings. I'm like, guys, last year we weren't even in the race. Now we're in a good position in the race.
Yeah.
And we'll get to hockey in a bit, but
we'll get to it. The Flyers do have the inside track right now. We will get to that in a bit, however.
Right. I'll just say this, and you know this. I've built businesses on fan bases. I have worked with teams that have had fan bases, and I always put time into the fan base to make sure they know we care, and to also make sure that they understand. I don't need to listen to you when it comes to the play. I don't need to listen to you when it comes to tactics. Right? That's not your job. That's my job, or that's the coach's job. But I will listen to everything you have to say. I just don't have to implement it. And that's usually enough. So anyway, City of Oakland, good job. Smart play. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see what happens there as, of course, that story continues to develop. Yes.
Schmuck of the week, the Oakland Athletics.
There you go. Yeah, well, the ownership group for the Athletic, Fisher and his whatever cronies he has there. A couple of quick other baseball stories. We've already had the first no-hitter of the year.
Nuts, isn't it?
Ronel Blanco, who came out of nowhere. He's 30 years old. This is his only starting. He's basically gone between the minors and majors a lot for his career. He's only starting because of all the injuries to the Astros rotation. And he no-hit the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday to get the Astros their first win of the year after they got swept by my Yankees. But yeah, no. So congrats to him. It's a great story to see somebody like that just come out of nowhere who's been grinding, and then now reach baseball immortality. So congrats. Even I can say congrats to him. It's the 17th no in Houston's history. And yeah, just a really, really great story. Even if I hate the Houston Astros.
Well, and yeah, like you can't deny a no. It's like when Lorenzen came in last year and just did it out of nowhere. Like you just have to have a great game. That's it.
Yep. That's it. Everything clicks for one day. And also speaking of my Yankees improved to 5-0. There are 4 undefeated teams still so far in baseball.
One of them, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I was just about to say the Pittsburgh Pirates are 5-0 for the first time since 1983.
Since the 1900s.
Yes.
Not even the late 1900s.
Yes, the 1980s. Before Lee and I were born was the last time the Pirates started off 5-0.
Oh, man, it's going to suck when they come back to earth.
Yes, well, and that's the thing. And I'm telling a lot of folks right now, and I get it. I'm even as a Yankee fan, I get it why people are excited. The Yankees have only been 5-0 for 4 times in their illustrious history, and only once have they won the World Series during that season. So much could happen still. It's so early. There's 157 games to go, folks.
You need, 30 games in, you can be intrigued.
Right.
I think 45 games in, you start to see things shape up.
Yes.
And then you got to wait forever. Yeah. And then you get the road to the playoffs.
Right. You can't really start to make assumptions about teams until Memorial Day. That's my rule. You have to wait.
I say in hockey that you need the first 10 games, you got to wait 10 games, which is I think on the fractional scale, it's the same thing in terms of games, but be excited. Look, sure, be excited about 5 wins. Nothing wrong. We're not telling you not to be excited, but be realistic at the same time. And
the other undefeated teams, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are 3-0.
Yeah,
they swept the Mets in their opening series. I guess the Mets suck.
The Mets, a former Philly too, helping them out with that.
Rhys Hoskins, which by the way, I think I kind of agree with Hoskins, by the way, calling Jeff McNeil a crybaby. Jeff, that was great. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
it might have been a little bit of a late slide, but at the same time, but it wasn't a dirty slide, in my opinion.
Not at all. Not at all.
And to be fair to McNeil, the only reason, again, he was mad because he did slide up on his leg, and McNeil's leg was there longer than it would have been normally because he was bobbling the transition. It was just a weird bang play, and McNeil's a crybaby because he plays for the Mets.
Yeah, if he threw a kick, I would have said, "Oh, okay," but
yeah,
whatever, man. It's sports.
It's baseball. McNeil's got to get out of the way.
Right.
That's it. I'm sorry. It was a clean slide. He stayed in the bag. So, and then the Mets continued to lose because they lost now to the undefeated Tigers last night in extra innings. The Tigers also undefeated. And I said this on my State of the Yankees. I did something I do on my TikTok. By the way, and I officially put it here so it's out there. I know the Yankees are 5-0. I still think our ceiling is 88 wins, and I don't think we make the playoffs because I don't think we have the pitching. I hope I'm wrong, but that is officially now also in Geeks Who Like Sports lore. I'm staying by my prediction even after our 5-0 start. I still think our ceiling's 88 wins, and the American League East is just so stacked. I think the Orioles will win the division. The Tigers, though, because the Central is so weak, the Tigers might also get the 85 to 88 win mark, and that might win them the division, and they are off with the 4-0 start. Wouldn't be surprised. I don't think the Twins are going to be able to do it again. The Royals suck. The White Sox really suck. Cleveland has no offense. The Tigers are my dark horse to make the playoffs this year out of the Central. So I want to put that. So they are also undefeated. So yeah. And the Pirates, by the way, they're not good. The Pirates will finish. The Pirates' ceiling is 500, 81 and 81. That's their ceiling.
Yeah, look, what a hot start gets you in baseball is a little room to breathe. That's it.
Yes.
Okay. It gives you some room to breathe, and but look, most of the teams have to battle their way through the season. So
yes,
it can go either way.
the Rays from last year are a perfect example. The Rays got off to a red hot start last year, if I remember correctly, and they did make the playoffs as a wild card, but
Right.
they fell back. Baltimore won the division again, right? So, and I think that Baltimore, there's just so much talent there. They got so much better than everybody else with the trade for Corbin
And
Burns.
they believe now.
Yeah. And, a lot of folks are saying, and I agree with this. I'm going to say it right now. You may not want to hear it, Lee, but I'm going to say Braves versus Baltimore in the World Series.
It's an interesting pick.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Week 1 prediction. I actually made it right before opening day again on TikTok, but I'm officially here on Geeks Who Like Sports. It's locked in.
Yeah, the Braves are never a bad choice ever.
It's a safe bet, and I honestly, and I think the Dodgers are just they're gonna find a way to choke again.
I would like to see Phillies Dodgers in the NL
in the
NLCS.
Yeah,
I don't care who's in the World Series on the AL.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, look, the Phillies could do it too. I mean, the
Phillies
the
have
top of the National League is
same team as last season with better pitching, right?
Yeah.
So I would say this is the Phillies' season to lose again. I think we'll actually be fighting for the division this year a little more than we did last year, because they're pissed off, to be perfectly honest with you. The thing for the Phillies is they cannot be a one-trick pony with the long ball. They have got to figure out a way to do a little more than just hitting home runs.
Yeah.
Because if that dries up, you're losing. So we'll see what happens. We got some young guys in the lineup. Trey Turner will probably not be having a horrible first half of the season.
Yeah.
Which that's probably the reason we were a wild card team last year and not a division winner.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. A lot of guys, including Trey Turner, got off to slow starts because of the
horrible start.
Classic.
Yeah, horrible start. I mean, it was a great moment for Philadelphia sports lore when they gave him the standing ovation.
Right.
But that was 50 games in.
Yeah.
You get Trey Turner hitting for 50 games in a row to start the season. It's going to be a different team. So we'll 100%. See. We'll see. That's my big kind of let's see what happens there.
Yeah. No. I mean, look. I think the Dodgers win the West. I think. You guys and the Braves are the two teams in the East that are be fighting.
They should be fighting it out. Yeah, there's no reason that should not be happening.
Sure,
and I think it's going to be a much closer race than last season. The Braves are just a great regular season team. I mean, there's nothing.
100%.
Yeah, I'm just going to see what happens. I should tell you, I'm going to the Phillies versus Nats game in Washington. This Sunday. So
very nice.
Earliest I've ever gone to a baseball game in the season, I think. I don't know if I've ever gone to one this early, so that would be good.
I'm excited because I am going to Yankees Padres in San Diego Memorial Day weekend.
I heard the Padres Stadium is fantastic.
I've been to the Padres Stadium, I've done a tour, but because I've done it during Comic-Con when nobody's there. So I've actually never been to an actual game in the stadium.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that for the first time.
Yeah, I've heard San Diego is a really great place. Just in
San Diego, like any city, it has its nice parts and it has its not so nice parts, but it is a nice. I don't know what Caitlin is talking.
That's about. What's in. That was that stupid fan base.
Oh,
thing.
that guy. Yes,
so
I remember.
Bad.
Oh God,
that's how I knew we were gonna win.
Yes, that was a terrible. Oh
yeah.
I will say this. Look, I'm sure the San Diegans are very nice, but they are not. It's not a sports city. There's a reason why almost every team leaves that city.
Yeah,
right. The Chargers, the Clippers.
Yeah, there was this group of kind of middle-aged men doing this dance.
Yeah, I know what you did.
And when we were in the playoffs with them, look, two things. One is don't do that.
Yeah,
and the second thing is to all the fan bases, all of them, don't come at the Philadelphia fans. You're not going to win. Even if you beat us, you're not going to win.
I think those guys also went after the Dodgers fans, and it's why would you do that?
Yeah.
San Diego. Let me. San Diego. You're a very nice city.
Very nice.
You've never won anything.
You could be Canadian. You're that nice.
They are the. There you go. They are the Canadian of the
West.
South.
Of the West.
Oh,
you could be Canadian if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So. Anyway, we spent a lot of time on baseball to kick off the show.
Yeah, baseball's here, man. I'm excited about it. Again, my just say it again. My rule for is you got to take this part of the season a little bit with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
If you get a hot start, great. But there's so many games. Many games.
Very, very early. Again, you want to start off 5-0. You can't start off any better, but a lot of time left. So
you've also played two teams. Calm down.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Is everybody needs to relax.
You played two teams,
right? Milwaukee and the Tigers, you're beating up on the Mets. Us. I mean, Houston is super injured, and Arizona is a little hungover from the World
Series. You got the World Series.
So, So again, keep it in perspective, everybody. Keep it in perspective. Anyway, speaking of kicking off, we're going to move now quickly to football.
Oh, that was a good one.
Thank you.
So
there's a bunch of new kickoff rules in the NFL this year. First off, the onside kick now has been confirmed. It will only be allowed in the fourth quarter, and it must be declared beforehand. So no more trickery, no more shenanigans with the onside kicks. And the effort to keep the competitiveness, I guess. But the new regular kickoff rule, this is interesting. I'm going to read off the specifics here, Lee. The one thing that stays the same is that you'll be kicking off from the 35-yard line. Now, what happens now is the lineup is where it used to be that your team would line up a few yards in front of you. Your team now will line up on the other team's 40. The receiving team, their guys will then line up 5 to 10 yards in front of them. And the receiving team can have 1, 2, or no players inside their own 30 for receiving the ball, right? So you're basically pushing all the action. I actually think the UFL and their XFL were doing this to kind of like prevent everybody kind of colliding with each other.
The XFL was doing this last season.
Right. So now they've put everybody kind of more tightly compact so that this way, and the play doesn't start until somebody catches the ball. So again, it's to try to eliminate a lot of the high intensity collisions. But here is where things get interesting. If the ball is kicked into the end zone, right? Like we've been seeing the last few years that kickers are having fun. They're just like, how far can I kick it? They're kicking it through the opposing uprights. If that happens now, the receiving team gets the ball at the 30, not the 25 anymore, the 30. The objective is for the kicker to put the ball between the goal line and the 20-yard line so it can be returned to once again kind of make the play an interesting play. Because again, the kickoffs had kind of become what extra points were in the past, where it was a bathroom break. I don't need to watch this because it's just going to be a touchback. Also, if the ball is kicked out of bounds or short of the 20, it is or short of the 30, it is once again going to be at the 40-yard line. So that penalty is expanded. There are no more fair catches allowed, and any kick that lands in the landing zone must be returned. So, Lee, I'm really curious to see. I'm really actually looking forward to the preseason because I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. But it sounds like there's going to be a lot more strategy now involved with kickoffs again. What are your thoughts?
You made kickoffs a more important play.
Finally, yes.
Yeah, that's my take. This is great. It's good. The XFL, UFL now did its job in putting out new rules. The NFL saw it, and I give the NFL kudos for just making the change. And because one of the biggest problems in pro sports is the inability to make change. Now, I'm all for testing things. Like, I understand why the NHL uses the AHL as a testing ground. I understand why sometimes Major League Baseball will use the minors.
Yep.
Even though they don't ever change anything for 100 years.
Yeah, I know the electronic strike zone's working great in the minor leagues, but we still don't have it in the majors.
Yeah, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. But the other thing is this. Look, you had the XFL and now again the UFL. Great testing ground in spring football. You can see how it works. It worked fantastic in that league.
Yep.
Every play should matter.
Yes.
Every play should matter. It should not be an excuse for me to go to the bathroom. Right.
Yep.
And what you've done now is you've kept me at the TV. Or make me rush back to the TV, I should say.
Yep.
Let's see what's going to happen. And again, when you give professional coaches, good coaches, a chance to try new things, they're going to try new things. It makes the game more exciting. So good on the NFL for doing that.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out because it sounds on paper like it's going to be a great rule, and it's going to make kickers for kicking off. It's going to make it really. It's not just a power thing anymore. It's about accuracy. Can you place the ball within those 20 yards?
Yeah.
Right. You're going to see a lot more pooch kicks. You're going to see. I think this is going to be really good for the game overall.
It is good for the game. And again, they have the whole season of testing the XFL. It's going to be good.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. Moving on now. So that's the future. That's the beginning of a season in the future. We're talking about the ending of seasons now as we are approaching playoff time in the NHL and NBA. We're going to kick off with hockey. My Rangers lost last night to Pittsburgh, keeping Pittsburgh's slim playoff hopes alive. But as of right now, the Rangers still have the inside track. They have a 1-point lead for the President's Trophy, a 3-point lead for the 1 seed in the East. Lee, your Flyers got themselves a point last night and a loss to the overtime loss to the Islanders, but that 1 point catapults them back into the three seed in the Metropolitan Division. Meanwhile, the Capitals and Red Wings are tied for the last wild card. The Islanders are within striking distance. Again, Pittsburgh with their win last night, still technically alive. Lee, let's start off with the Eastern Conference. Things continue to be bunched up at the top and bunched up at the bottom. We already know 4 teams who have clinched. The top teams, obviously, Boston, Florida, Rangers, and Carolina. But Lee, what are your thoughts on the playoff picture? What do you think of your Flyers? What are your thoughts as we move into the last 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah, the top teams that you mentioned are on autopilot at this point, as they should be, just kind of maintaining and doing well, making sure you don't get injured, making sure you get healthy, and making sure that you keep a playoff mentality. I will maintain again, I think this is the Rangers' year. For those bottom teams, especially in the Metropolitan, very exciting race to the finish. We're at the point of the season, as you said, that every point matters. And the Flyers, who are extremely injured at the moment, starting to have players come back, are finding ways to earn points right now with a limited lineup. But the big news in Philadelphia is the signing and now playing of 6'7" Ivan Fedotov, our new goaltender. And I'm going to say it right now, Ray, and because Flyers fans are panicking a little bit, which again I think is such nonsense.
Yeah.
Because we're in a very good position right now. I think we have like an 85% chance of making it. I highly doubt Detroit and Washington are going to go on a 10-game winning streak to finish the season.
Right.
And even if one of them does, still doesn't mean we're not out. Right. I just want the Flyers to make the playoffs. And I think when Fedotov gets going, when he gets going, watch out. That could be a major dark horse going into the playoffs. If that guy shows up, and my friends, he is big. He is a big dude and takes up a lot of the net. Right. So with the Flyers' work ethic, if they can get healthy and he's in net, that's a team that can get to the second round now. Right. Yeah. They just have to get in. That's a team that could easily pop off one of those top 4 teams you were talking about.
Well, and I was about to say, like, I'm actually happy that you guys have moved back into the 3 spot because
you don't want to face
I would much rather face Detroit or Washington in the first round as a Ranger fan than face you guys.
Well, my gut is that's what's going to happen. All right. Again, look, the Detroit and Washington have been very inconsistent. The only thing that swirls in my head a little bit with that situation is just they have games at hand. All right. Yeah. But I think the Flyers, looking at the schedule, they've got could easily go 500 in that time. Yeah. But knowing the way they play, I think they're going to do a little better than that. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be in that 3rd seed or the first wild card spot. But we'll see what happens. My problem right now with Flyers fans is like this team has given you a reason to be excited. They've been a joy to watch this season. Yeah. And now like the normal Philly narcissism is coming in at the end of the season. Oh, you missed the playoffs by 1 point. Sucking. I was like, guys, shut up. This wasn't the year. We're not going to win
ahead of schedule.
I know it's like really far ahead of schedule. And it's like, this wasn't the year. Right. Like, so the fact that we're at where we're at, like enjoy the, it's not even a rebuild anymore. Just enjoy the process here. All right. Like Ray, look at me. My entire life, the goaltending issues that have plagued this team have been devastating to me. Right. And it's been year after year. This year we had a goalie and lost him for one of the dumbest things ever. Yeah. Okay.
No. He did that to himself.
I'm not saying dumb the situation. I'm saying dumb. Right. He was dumb.
Yeah.
Right. And the GM goes out and gets a monster from Russia.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, people.
Yeah.
Like the dude literally got Ivan Drago from Rocky and put him in the Philadelphia net.
Yeah.
Like, does everybody see what's happening here?
Yeah, I was reading up on this kid, and he is scary.
Gigantic.
Yeah,
he is comparable to Tampa Bay Lightning's superstar.
I was going to say Vasilevskiy. That's the first person I thought of as another Vasilevskiy. My God,
and you people are complaining. You're complaining. Yeah. I'm turning into Maniscalco. You got the goalie. Listen, not only that, he's brought other players over too. Not to mention our top draft pick, Michkov, will be over soon as well. Not to mention, we are probably going to pick up some big names in the offseason. See further ahead than 3 inches in front of your face, sports fans. Flyers fans, I'm talking to you. And enjoy this. I'm going to say it now. The Flyers will make the playoffs. The Flyers will be dangerous in the playoffs. Not guaranteed any kind of victories. Whoever plays them is in trouble because you are going to be injured coming out of that series.
Yeah.
All right. And if the Flyers win, I'm excited about this team right now. All right. But you got to keep your expectations realistic. We have a 6'7" Russian goaltender who wants to be here.
Yeah.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
This is the quickest. This is the quickest goalie turnaround since Lundqvist retired and Shesterkin came in.
Yeah.
All right, and screw the Rangers for doing that. That's not fair. You don't deserve that many good goaltenders in a row, but you did.
Yeah, we did it again. Speaking of goaltending, really quick before we move to the Western Conference, also quick congratulations to Jonathan Quick for setting the record, the winningest American goaltender.
Yeah, you even get backup goaltenders that are better than everybody else.
Winningest American goaltender of all time, beating the Arizona Coyotes.
Anyone could have signed that guy.
Yep, anybody. And we signed him. We signed him to a 1-year deal, and then we're like, "Wow, you're really good. You want to come back next year too?" And he's like, "Yes."
Yeah, Rangers are the team to beat. I will be very surprised if they have an early exit. Obviously, as you get closer to the cup, it gets really hard.
Sure,
but they have everything they need to win the cup. Everything.
Yeah.
And I will be surprised if they're not there. All right, it's the Bostons and those dark horses you got to watch out for. I do not think Florida is going all the way this year. I don't think that, they're a very good team. I just doesn't seem like they're going to do it to me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everything works out there in the East. The West is also bunching up. Colorado, the Rangers lost to Pittsburgh last night, which was a shock, but even bigger shock was Colorado dropping a game to Columbus.
Yeah, but that's another team that's just, they don't need to kill themselves right now, right?
They're trailing the Stars by the Stars again going on a winning streak, 7-game winning streak right now to catapult themselves to the top of the West. But the Avalanche are 3 points behind them. Actually, that'll be an insane first round series. Colorado versus Winnipeg if the season ended today. Talk about two teams that are going to probably beat each other up and might hurt themselves in the second round. Whoever wins that.
You got to remember this time of the year that the teams that are, there's several teams out of the playoffs, including the Columbus Blue Jackets. Those teams are very dangerous because they have nothing to play for. So they're going to just play free. And again, you can see how much the mental side of the game matters, right? Because when you're not going to make the playoffs, you play differently.
Yeah.
Right. So, or when you're fighting for a playoff spot, you play differently. But when you're kind of comfortably in, you're not going to risk too much. That doesn't mean they shouldn't win. It doesn't mean they don't want to win. Yeah. Right. But it's like, you don't have to kill yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Dallas better hope they're not peaking too early. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, and that's funny enough. Just to go back to the East. That's what happened to the Rangers last night. It looked like Pittsburgh was taking chances. You don't usually see a team take, and they paid off for them to keep their very slim playoff chances alive. They needed those 2 points last night.
Right.
And like you said, desperate teams have desperate matters. And again, back to the West, brings up the Minnesota Wild, who did something interesting this week where they sacrificed the 1 point in overtime by pulling their goalie. They lost to the Golden Knights. I didn't even realize this was a rule.
Oh, it is.
Well, because we've never seen it happen. So with the new overtime rules, folks, if you're not familiar with this like I wasn't, if you pull the goalie and then the other team scores in the empty net to end the 5-minute overtime and end the game, you don't get the 1 point for overtime. It's not an overtime loss. It's just a loss. You lose. That's it. You get nothing, sir. Nothing. And that's what Minnesota, again, a team with very, very slim playoff chances, were like, they did this once and it paid off for them against Nashville. And they're like, we need to do it again. And they did it against Vegas. And Vegas was like, you ain't doing this twice. And I think it was Marchessault who buried it and beat Minnesota, which basically pretty much Minnesota's basically done. They just have to win out, and basically you have to see the Kings absolutely collapse to make the playoffs at this point. But I think that's the difference between the West and the East, is that the West, you kind of know the 8 teams that are going to be there. The Blues are still within striking distance, but it's pretty much going to be, I think the Predators and the Kings are going to be the wild cards, and that's pretty much it. Like you know who the 8 teams are in the West. It's just a matter of seeding. Whereas the East, you've still got a few teams that are more alive within striking distance of that last wild card. Lee, what are your thoughts on the Western Conference and what's happening there? Vancouver near the top, surprisingly. Vegas now starting to really heat up as we knew they would, especially after the trade deadline. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so St. Louis trails LA by 3 points, and LA has a game in hand. So that could flip, but that's the only thing that could change in terms of making the playoffs at this point. And look, made the better team win. LA obviously has the advantage in that situation right now. It's going to come down to that schedule. Minnesota losing the point. I don't know. I go back and forth. Like my attitude is the hockey gods were probably only going to grant you that one time. So I don't think they should have tried that again.
Yeah.
But with that said, they're just shy of 10 points out. You got to try something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if sacrificing a point, it was too dangerous to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you can give that point up. You should try and win in overtime.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a mistake. I also think too that, fans, I'm going to be blunt with you as a hockey coach. Fans look at overtime incorrectly. All right. It's a lottery. It is such a lottery to win in overtime. Well, you got to put the right players that it's 3-on-3. It is a lottery. Everyone is extremely talented. All right. And it's like they said, like, you want to know the truth about overtime? The Toronto Maple Leafs have the biggest advantage in overtime in the league because of who they have on their roster. Right. It doesn't matter who you put out against Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and whoever. John Tavares. It doesn't matter who you put out.
Well,
they're winning that game.
Yeah. Usually,
like 8 out of 10 times. So, I think people look at overtime like, okay, it's not as tactically sound as you think. Like if you miss the net, you miss an assignment, that's game over. All right. So I applaud them for taking the risk the first time. I don't think they should have sacrificed a point this late in the season.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, when there's an honest chance you can get 2 points. Yeah. Right? An empty net with a sacrifice point is not the better play to me other than keeping a point and trying to win. Yeah. Right. So anyway, now everybody knows that rule. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, the West is so typical of the West. The West is kind of locked and the East is all over the place. And it just seems like that every year. I think the Metropolitan Division is one of the most competitive divisions in hockey.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so exciting. And I love seeing the Flyers there and the Devils not. And, I'm excited about the Rangers. I told you I'm like this weird hybrid Flyers-Rangers guy. But I have good reasons for that. Yeah. But I love watching the Rangers play hockey this year. They are so fun to watch. And as a hockey person, that's exciting for me. But no, in the West, Vancouver's not going to the Cup. I mean, Colorado looks so mean.
Yeah.
Like they look like a playoff team. They look pissed off and mean. And while Vancouver's had a wonderful regular season, they don't come across as mean to me.
No, even that. I mean, Vancouver is surprising how good they've been. I think. I could have seen Vancouver improving over last year for sure.
Nobody expected this.
No,
but they've cruised all season. Like I said, they had 100 points right now.
They got fat on They beat all the bad teams.
They beat everyone they're supposed to beat.
Right. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to be able to beat, like you said, Colorado, Vegas, Dallas.
I'm gonna say this again. And I said this is true of baseball too. The regular season is not the postseason. And you can build a postseason team, all right, that just makes the playoffs. LA proved this, right? You got to be willing to die for your team in the playoffs, all right. And again, we'll see what happens. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Vancouver, but like Colorado looks very angry to me, all right. I mean, very angry, right? And that's a team I would be scared of. Like they don't want to beat you to get to the Cup; they want to destroy you to get to the Cup. They are the Darth Vader of the NHL right now. The Rangers are clearly the Luke Skywalker. We will see how that ends. But I'm going to pick again Colorado, New York Rangers for the final.
I mean, I think that's a pretty safe bet, but
Boston's Han Solo. Let's just say Detroit's Greedo. I'm trying to think of there's some other ones here. Like Vancouver's the Princess Leia. Okay. She's dangerous, but she gets captured a lot.
Is Vegas Chewy?
Yeah, that's a good one, Ray. That's a really good one. I mean, and there's a lot.
We just did Washington an unintentional mashup, by the way.
Yeah, it's a free mashup. Yeah, Washington is R2D2.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We'll have to pick a C3PO in this mix. It's Minnesota. Oh, sir. We've given up
Minnesota. Oh, I pulled the goalie. I lost the point.
Yeah. Oh, my God, Chewy, we've pulled the goalie. What? This is blasphemous. Give me more time with that. I'll get his voice down. But there's a lot of characters we could do here.
Is Florida like Lando?
Yeah, that's a good one too. So, yeah, I mean the Emperor is Bettman, but there's a lot of different scenarios here. Like there's a Kylo Ren in here somewhere. That might be Winnipeg
or Toronto, maybe. Yeah,
Toronto. No, Toronto. Toronto's a tough one.
Yeah.
To-
Trying to think.
Toronto would be like someone who's very confident, but looks good and just can't get it done. Maybe Dash Rendar.
Or I was going to say Poe Dameron, maybe.
Poe would be good for them. Yeah.
There you
Poe
go.
would be good.
Poe.
Somehow.
The
Maple Leafs returned.
Yeah, I was going to say. No, for them, it'd be somehow Boston returned, right?
God, I want to meet the person who wrote that line so bad. What were you thinking? Anyway. Yes. What NHL team is who in Star Wars? It was a good little mashup. We do have a real mashup today. Tease it here.
Yes.
It's going to be which superhero duo is most likely to have the sidekick take the fall for the hero? Because Ohtani, we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah,
in
that's
our
going to be a good
mashup
matchup for you all later in the week. So, real quick. So that's hockey. Moving on now to basketball. Getting close to the end of the season there. Very interesting situation in the East. The Knicks have lost back-to-back heartbreakers, which has slipped the Knicks from the 3 seed to the 4 seed. And right now, if the season ended today, the Knicks would take on the Magic, which is actually a really bad matchup. The Magic have made us look pretty bad this year. But right now, the Knicks would host. They would have the home court advantage, at least in the first round. The Knicks can, again, Jalen Brunson, arguably the best player in the league, is having a career year, was probably one of the best signings ever a couple of years ago. The Knicks, here's the thing about the Knicks. If the Knicks get healthy, right, they've got OG, they've got Randall, they got a couple of guys banged up, but it sounds like everybody's going to be coming back just in time for the playoffs, maybe get a couple games under their belt to warm up. That could make the Knicks very dangerous. Dangerous enough to take down Boston at the top of the conference? I don't know. But if you told me the Knicks would make it to the Eastern Conference Final, I could believe that. I could believe the Knicks could win 2 rounds and get to the Eastern Conference Final and then lose eventually to the Celtics. The Knicks are dangerous, folks. There's a different Knicks team this year if they're healthy.
Yeah.
A team whose windows seem to be closing, though, Lee, is your 76ers, as they've slipped down to the 8th seed in the play-in round.
They'll make the play-in round. So we'll see what happens. If they get healthy, they will win that easily. If they don't, it's like it always comes back to Embiid, man.
Yeah, and if they win that game, it does come back to Embiid. They would play the Bucks, which would be a really interesting series.
Yeah, look, the Celtics are going to win the East. This is basketball. There's no surprises, right?
Yeah.
The Celtics are going to win the East. The West is a little tougher to predict, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. In the West right now, the Thunder have a half-game lead over the Nuggets for the 1 seed. The Nuggets, of course, the defending champions. I still think the Nuggets would be the team to beat if those two teams
easily
meet.
This is their time for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and that too. And speaking of championship windows closing, right now the Lakers and the Warriors are the 9-10 seeds. They're in the play-in rounds, and they would have to win. One of those would have to win 2 games to make it to the playoffs. I don't think either one of them are going anywhere, even though here in LA, all anybody's talking about is the Lakers and Warriors, while the Clippers are the 4 seed.
Right.
But I will say this: I think part of the reason is that if the season ends today, the Clippers would take on the Mavericks, and I think the Mavericks would beat the Clippers. Right. I really do. I think that's, I think the Luka is just would go off. I think Kyrie is, at least for the moment, has his head on straight. You never know with him. And that's the one thing. Honestly, the Mavericks could beat themselves. If Kyrie becomes Kyrie again, which we all know how much of a head case he can be, then the Mavericks will implode and then the Clippers will move on. But if not, I think the Mavericks are the better team in that regard. And then, and again, I think the Nuggets, though, would be the team. I think Boston versus Denver, and then I think that'd be actually a really good final.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would make the most sense. The only way Golden State or the Lakers go far is if they get 10 years younger very quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, look, it's always possible. You never know. I mean, the Lakers did win that midseason tournament, but a lot of it comes down to, those teams are older. Like they are 10 years older than they were when they were going, win.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the Celtics and Nuggets are,
they're just built to win right now.
Yeah. If those aren't in the final, something happened.
Yeah. And that's always the thing, right? There's always a caveat, injuries, suspensions, who knows what's going to happen. There's always a curveball that could be thrown, or a team that just gets really red hot like the Heat did last year. And Butler just literally willed them to the final. Finals in the NBA, but so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So the finals. Moving on now. Speaking of the finals, it's kind of almost like Super Bowl time if you're a wrestling fan. We are days away from WrestleMania.
That was good. See, that's what I was looking for before. Good stuff.
WrestleMania 40 is on the horizon. The card is still it's now solidifying. We've got some extra matches. We've got a tag match between Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee and Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar, which basically is kind of a rematch of last year where it was Dom versus Rey, but now it's a tag match. And it's like, I can't believe a year later we're doing the same thing with these guys. One fun caveat is that the 6 tag team ladder match, Michael Cole made an announcement last night saying that the match is not over until both pairs of titles have been retrieved. Now, for those who don't know, they've had for a long time, it's been the unified tag championships, the Raw titles and the SmackDown titles. Him saying that last night makes me believe that finally, after almost 2 years, I believe, they're going to re-separate those belts, because you have teams from SmackDown and from Raw in this match. And I think you're going to end up seeing a Raw team get the Raw belts and a SmackDown team end up getting the SmackDown belts, because for a lot of times they combine the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship. And people have been wondering, why haven't you done the same with the tag titles now? This might be the reason why they might finally redivide those titles. This would be the time to do it. And that caveat makes me think that will happen. Lee, before we get into the big main event predictions, what are your thoughts on that idea?
Oh, I think there's a lot of tectonic plates moving in the WWE right now, and I think they're situating themselves for success, and I'd say there's a high chance of that happening, buddy. And I like it. I like that idea. It creates another storyline for a whole year.
Yes, absolutely. And then it also elevates multiple tag teams at once, which I think is a great thing. And I think that the tag division could absolutely use that. I also still stand by prediction that the Judgment Day will lose those titles, that whoever wins those belts, the Judgment Day will not be one of those teams. I think you will see a different SmackDown champion and a different Raw champion, and good on them. I think everybody who's in that match is in that match for a reason. I think it's a great chance to elevate a lot of talent very, very quickly. You've got 12 men in a 6-tag ladder match. I'm super excited for this. Not saying we're going to get like TLC level, chaos like we did way back in the day with the Dudleys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian. But there's a lot that there's a chance that match could steal the show, or at least the night that for it's sure. On. So, because anytime you involve ladders, who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
And then, of course, you mentioned tectonic plates. That makes me think of rocks, i.e. The Rock. Lee, The Rock has been stealing the show. His social media, the stuff, I don't know if you saw after the show on last week's
I've seen all of it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. The heel Rock is best Rock. And even though I really do think that Cody and Seth, even if Cody and Seth lose the stipulation, I do believe that Cody will win the Universal Championship.
He is 100% going to win. And
yes.
They're putting that kid through the biggest beating of his life.
Yes.
And he's earning the right. Like, you're starting to feel bad for the guy.
Yes. Which is why all the more reason why he's got to have to win the title.
He's going to win. He's going to win. And Ray, I'll say it. I've been predicting Attitude Era stars coming back. And as you saw, that truck in the background had John Cena and Stone Cold on it. I believe people are going to show up at this match to pull the Rock into hell.
Well, did you see what happened on Sunday with Stone Cold on his social media?
No. What was
Stone Cold's like, so I'm going out here, feed my chickens. I got my pickup truck. I got my chicken feed. I got my tools in the back. And somebody, I don't think it was a damn Easter bunny, lift me a basket full of beer. Yeah. It's like somebody's trying to butter me up for something.
See that? So I'm telling you that this is what I think is happening. I think Dwayne Johnson, not The Rock, Dwayne Johnson went to Cody Rhodes and said, listen, we're going to give you the biggest beating you've ever had in your entire life. And you're going to take it, and you will be WWE champion at the end of it, because you will earn it. Yes. You will earn this.
Yes.
The other thing, too, is that, the only way to pull The Rock away is with the Attitude. I mean, they're ushering in a new Attitude Era. I mean, it's pretty obvious with the way they've been handling this lately. Blood, belts, cursing, which you can do now. I think they're also getting ready for Netflix, which is
where they are going to be able to drop the F-bombs and definitely go more PG-13 pretty quickly.
So it's been brilliant. I'm glad it's finally here, because this if The Rock kept going on the course he's going, it's going to get old.
Yeah.
Like this is hitting the pinnacle at the right time. Like, I don't need 3 more weeks of that. Right. No. Like, this has to end now.
Yes.
And it's time. And I think they've set this up beautifully. But Cody Rhodes is going to be WWE champion at the end of this weekend. I think that he's earned it. I think the fans aren't stupid. I think The Rock knows that. I think everyone's happy to see him again. I think there will be twists and turns at the event that no one saw coming. But I John Cena looks like he's going to show up.
Yep.
Right. So I mean, we'll see. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few other Attitude Era stars. Again, it would be so fitting if they drag The Rock away.
Yeah.
Right. I don't really want to see Roman versus Rock. Like I don't need that.
You don't need that. I mean, if it's gonna happen, you do it at SummerSlam, maybe, but like it's not, or even just Backlash next month over in France. Like I could see, doing the first ever pay-per-view in France, The Rock going over there to help draw that crowd.
Yeah.
And then kind of just ending it there. But like
it was funny that Lin-Manuel Miranda was there yesterday, and it's like, well, that's the guy who wrote Moana too. Yeah. So okay, like we're starting to see that trickle in a little bit, but
a little more Hollywood.
I gotta say it, dude. It's like The Rock's film career was just that wasn't going down.
It was stagnant.
Fluttering a little bit, and here he comes back to WWE and just shows everybody, I'm the man.
Yeah.
Final Boss, brilliant marketing.
Oh, fantastic,
brilliant,
fantastic.
So I'm interested to see what happens here, but my wish is for the greatest of the Attitude Era to come and drag The Rock away. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Especially if the Taker is there.
Yeah. And then having Cena there too, it's also kind of like a passing of the torch. It's a passing of the torch to Cody. And I do believe, and again, also I predicted this as well with WrestleMania. I think they continue to tease the triple threat US title match. Randy Orton is not going to win that, folks, because I think this is just something for Randy to do. And I think you can have Randy very quickly. You can insert Damian Priest into the title picture. You put Randy back in the title picture because you're going to need people for Cody to fight after this.
Yeah.
Because after this happens, that's it. It's done.
He has just earned it so much. And I'm going to say it again. If they don't let him have it, it's like, oh, what do you guys do?
Well, I mean, it's a huge mistake. And they basically said it like they've said it that he won't get another chance as long as The Rock is in charge and Roman is still the title holder.
I'm going to say it again. He's done everything they've asked him to do, and he has taken a beating the last 2 weeks. You got to let him have it.
Absolutely. So yeah, WrestleMania 40. We'll have a full recap on next week's show.
WrestleMania. Yes. And make sure to check out the New to Wrestling podcast with our friend Savi and our editor, as obviously he is heavily into that and talking about it. I believe he will be at WrestleMania in some capacity this year too, as it is in Philadelphia, and everybody here is very excited about it. WrestleMania.
For you guys. I almost got tickets to WrestleMania this year. I went to last year's WrestleMania in LA.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, unfortunately, just could not get the stars to align this year. So
also, it was reported that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were in Havertown, my hometown, this week.
Oh,
visiting Jason Kelce. It was funny because everybody in Havertown was like, "She was in Havertown." She was in my hometown. But
that's cool.
That shows you when they don't want you to know where they're at, they do it.
Oh yeah, they can disappear very easily. Anyway, speaking of disappearing, we're moving on to the geek section. Apple, some of Apple stuff maybe disappearing soon. As and this isn't the first time that something like this has happened, but it's the first time I think Apple is really having their feet held to the fire. They are being sued by the government in an antitrust lawsuit. Now, this is a big deal because they're basically targeting Apple for basically having a monopoly, that their app store is basically dual standards for the app store and really kind of having a stranglehold on who can succeed and who can't. And this kind of is spurred out of the lawsuit brought by Epic Games for what they were doing with Fortnite a few years ago. And this is a big deal because it could break up. It could really force Apple to install some new practices. It could break up some of their holdings within Apple and force them to spin off or sell off some things, or really just change their practices. I mean, this isn't the first time that the government has done something like this. They've done this since, I think it was like Standard Oil hundreds of years ago, all the way to AT&T a few years ago. These things usually take time. They could take as long as a decade. I think the AT&T case took 10 years before it came to an end. But Lee, this is a big deal that Apple is being sued by the government, and it could really change the face of tech, and especially mobile tech and mobile gaming, depending on how this shakes out over the next several years.
Like restaurant reviews, people only seem to complain. They don't look at the good stuff that happens too. And this is one of those situations where the government's actually doing its job
Yes.
and doing it well, right? Again, if you only focus on the negative, you'll find the negative, right? But again, the U.S. government, not completely horrible, right? Doing things like this, like I'm saying, like they do things right sometimes, and when it comes to antitrust law, it's been pretty good. But look, Apple's one of the biggest companies in the world. They'll find a way through this, but I'm not against for monopolized breakups. It's not good for anybody. So we'll see what happens with that. But nothing new, right? It's just the next company to have this happen to them. We'll see where it goes in the future.
Yeah, and it's also, things with Apple with the selling of privacy and certain data. There's a whole bunch of things to this lawsuit. It's actually fascinating. And also, I mean, folks who know if folks have an Android in the US, right, basically Apple doing things purposely to make it more difficult to communicate with Android users, more difficult to put Apple programs on Apple as it is on Android. It's really fascinating to see how this could shake up the industry as a whole and level the playing field.
Shows you how powerful Apple is. Like, everybody says, oh, I got the, Apple's very powerful, right?
Yes.
First $1 trillion business, right? They're powerful.
Absolutely. You know who else is powerful? The Ghostbusters.
I haven't seen it yet, and I don't want you to spoil it for me, but you can have some fun with me if you want in this section. I was in Disney last week. I plan to see Ghostbusters this week. I apologize, Ray. I failed you.
All I wanted to do was talk about the Ghostbusters.
I know, but we'll have to save it for next week because I'm sure a lot of people here haven't seen it yet because it's getting panned by critics because critics are morons.
Critics are morons. It's not a bad movie, folks. It's not. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you're going to have fun with this movie.
That's what I expect, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I am so tired of critics panning movies. Like, shut up and go away, please.
There's little nitpicks here or there for me, absolutely. I will say this. And you'll see this in the trailers. It's a very big cast. But I will say this. I think for me personally, Dan Aykroyd stole the show. I thought he's the heart of the Ghostbusters for a reason. And I think that he did I think they did what they've always wanted to do. I wanted them to do, which is now Ray Stantz is kind of like the elderly patriarch of the Ghostbusters. He's the wise man who can kind of give guidance to the new generation. And I think they did a great job. I will say that a lot of newcomers, Patton Oswalt was a lot of fun in this. Kumail Nanjiani was a lot of fun in this. And the folks by the way, there's a big complaint going around, and this is super minor for me, where they're like, well, the big bad wasn't in the movie as much as I wanted them to be. Ghostbusters has a formula that has worked. You look at Ghostbusters 1, Gozer doesn't appear until the end of the film. You look at Ghostbusters 2, Vigo, he's sprinkled throughout, but he really doesn't appear until the end of the film. Gozer in Afterlife doesn't appear until the end of the film. The idea is the build-up so that you have this massive confrontation at the end.
Right.
That's how it works!
That's how movies work, yeah. In fact, Marvel one time did like 20 movies before bringing out their villain. I don't know if anybody remembers that from just a few years ago. Multiple films, like 10 years worth of films before we saw Thanos.
And by the way, Ghostbusters did a really nice build-up for this, in my opinion, in an hour and 55 minutes.
Right.
You can still make a fun movie, Hollywood, in less than 2 hours.
Oh, what are you talking about, Ray? It can't be fun.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. I will say this, the effects were phenomenal. Again, there's nitpicks, and we'll discuss those when you do see the film, Lee. I do have nitpicks, but I can't. If you are a fan of Ghostbusters, if you have ever enjoyed anything Ghostbusters related, I think you will enjoy this film.
I'm looking forward to it, and we will talk about it next week because you will also catch up on Ahsoka this week, so we can talk about that. Just one episode. I just need you to watch the one episode.
The thing is that this is the difference between movies and television. After 3 episodes, I was just like, I don't want to watch anymore.
I know, but that's when it gets good. It gets really good after the 3rd episode. One episode. I'll tell you everything you need to know for before. You don't even have to watch the rest of it.
It's just that's why I don't get in. That's why I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I just watch movies because even if you don't like the movie, you're only committed for 2 to 3 hours.
I completely agree. I'm just saying Ahsoka goes a nice place. They did a good job with that. Anyway, Ghostbusters next week. But before we get to Ghostbusters, I think we need to talk about another show that came out that has been absolutely fantastic.
Hey, are you caught up on this? Are you caught up on this at least?
100%.
Okay. We are now moving into.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, I want to make
sure. I go on vacation You can say you caught up on Listen Least when you haven't even finished Ahsoka yet. And that came out a long time ago. I am completely caught up on X-Men. Watched it on the plane.
Nice. Yes. Well, yes, we are 3 episodes into the X-Men 97. Speaking of Disney Plus shows, we're 3 episodes into X-Men 97 now of the 10. I mean, the show has been just a ton of fun.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I mean, they do a great job of reestablishing everyone in the first episode, and then they just hit the ground running, and they're throwing like major storylines. They did the whole Madeline Pryor, spoiler. They did the whole Madeline Pryor storyline in 3 episodes.
Actually, in one, if you really think about it. They really did it in one, because you don't even see the clone Jean until the end of the second episode.
Yeah.
And then they did the whole story in one episode, and it was almost not okay for my kids.
Yes.
It was scary.
It was, I mean, she's the Goblin Queen. Like, it's legit. Like, they do the whole thing. I mean, by the way, you knew as soon as you see the clone, you knew they were going to bring in Mr. Sinister, which, by the way, I love, again, that they find ways to kind of do quick info dumps for people who might not be familiar, right? Where, like, when they talk about, with Morph, with talking about Mr. Sinister, and it's just like, they're like Mr. Sinister, and he's and Morph does like a 30-second info dump about who Sinister is, not just for the X-Men in the cartoon, but his history, that he was a 19th century physicist and biologist and all this other stuff, and that he's basically been stealing mutants' powers his whole life in order to extend his own life. And like, that's his origin story.
That's it.
Like, they explained it perfectly in 30 seconds for people who might not understand. He's a bad guy. He's a real bad guy. And he steals people. He's been experimenting on mutants for centuries to give himself pseudo-immortality. Like, it just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. The action's been phenomenal. And now they're setting up life death, which for those who don't know is which they've already established. Storm has lost her powers in the show via the Executioner, who is a villain from the 90s, even though he wasn't the one who did it in the comics, who made her lose her powers. But again, a fun way to make things tie together and fit in a 30-minute show.
Well, she's very powerful.
Yes.
Storm. I mean, and they've also reestablished Cyclops as a badass, which
they
did a very bad job with, unfortunately. They made him very weak. Cyclops has always been amazing, and he's been my favorite character so far.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
They really, like you said, they made him a badass again. But yeah, like they're doing Life Death, which is where Storm and Forge are going to go off now and get Storm's powers back.
Right.
Like, it's just it's a great classic 80s storyline.
They're doing a ton of stuff too. Like the fact that obviously that Jean and Cyclops had their child, who, for those who don't know, that's Cable.
That's Cable, yeah.
Right. And they did that storyline in that same episode of him going to the future to be cured. And that starts the whole storyline. Now in the comics, there is a storyline where Cyclops and Jean do go to the future and actually raise him. I don't think they'll be doing that in the show. I could be wrong. Maybe they may mention it, but like they do get their time with him. Right. But that's Cable. I mean, they've introduced Cable now.
Yes.
And they
which was he was in the original show when he travels back, and it's like this is. And by the way, it's I need to specify, it's Cyclops and Madeline Pryor's baby.
That's true.
Cable.
The clone Gene. Excuse me for those who are watching.
Yes. Yeah, because and this is the thing. Cable is such a fascinating. Well, Nathan Summers will say, because there's so many variations of him. There is a teenage version of him that comes back in time. He calls himself X-Man. Right. And then there's another version of him that becomes evil, and he becomes Strife.
Right.
Like,
there's a lot of different directions they could go with this, but
100%.
I mean, and they might not even tap on it again till next season. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go on this.
They could just leave that be for now. That's tied off for now. Because we already know the next episode that's debuting tonight is going to be, they're going back to Mojo World.
Yep.
That's tonight's episode. The Motendo World is Jubilee. Is, from what I understand, going to be a Jubilee-centric episode with new X-Man Sunspot, who was also introduced in the 80s, by the way. He hasn't had a lot of time really since the first episode, so I'm excited to kind of see what they do with him and Jubilee. It's going to be a video game theme thing, so I'm also particularly excited about that. And then Life Death starts next week. Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's just, there's so much. And by the way, it's also funny. I laughed so hard when Madeline Pryor went into labor, and Madeline yells, "Logan, he's coming!" And Wolverine goes, "Who? Apocalypse?" And she's like, "No, you idiot, the baby!" And then Logan just goes, "Oh, no." He starts driving like a maniac to the
Oh.
hospital. It's just it's just funny. I just
No,
laugh.
this has been
Laugh.
brilliantly done, and obviously you've got really good writing. You get the voice actors now 30 years
Yeah.
later understanding their
Yes.
characters even more. And there's so many storylines. What it's showing, Ray, again, is that you can do these things quick. You don't need long buildups.
Yeah.
But like right now, look, you've got like 5 storylines. You've got Magneto as a storyline. Well, I think they closed that. Like Magneto is in charge, but Magneto and Rogue.
Yes, which is also from
You
the
know,
for those who don't know, by the way, that is
very,
also from the
very
comics.
canon. Yeah.
And the reason is, for those who don't, it's like, well, why can't Rogue touch Magneto and take his powers? There is a canonical reason.
Yeah.
They made it so that Rogue's powers are the reason why she can absorb people's abilities and brainwaves is that she's actually absorbing a piece of their electromagnetic brainwaves, right? And she makes it part of hers, and that's how she absorbs their memories, their thoughts, and their powers. Electromagnetism. Magneto's ability over magnetism makes it so that he can nullify Rogue's powers. That is why, at least until much later, and I'm probably not going to get to this, 20 years later in the comics, Rogue does finally get control of her powers. But that's why, at this point in continuity, she is the only person that she can touch safely is Magneto, because Magneto is strong enough to nullify her own electromagnetic abilities.
Right. So you've got that storyline. You've got Wolverine with Jean. You've got Madeline Pryor. You've got Cable in the story. You got Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's very fun.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's more to come. Like you got Sunspot. Like, so
yeah.
It's just a brilliant, and they're doing all this in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing.
It's really well done. And like I said, they're going to get green light for another season. If there's
they've been greenlit. They are a second season is
right. Like,
that's the thing. They're supposedly they've begun work on a 3rd season. The thing is that it's going to have a different showrunner because of all the stuff that happened with the showrunner. So
right. So we'll see what happens, but it's been very well done. I look forward to these episodes. I much more than any other show in a while.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's another episode debuts tonight from when we're recording.
Yeah, so when you're hearing this, that's out already. So the 4th episode is out.
Yes, the Motendo episode. So we'll have a full review of that next week. And speaking of great things from Marvel, this was a fun surprise. A trailer dropped last week for a new game called Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra. This is taking place in World War II. You play as Captain America, and you play as I think it's T'Chandra, which is the grandfather of T'Challa. So it was, again, the Black Panther mantle gets passed down from generation to generation. So it is T'Challa, his grandfather is the Black Panther, and they meet in World War II, and you get to play as both Black Panther and Captain America in this game. It is the brainchild of Amy Hennig, who, of course, helped create the first couple of Uncharted games. So she has a tremendous pedigree with storytelling and action-adventure, and I, for one, cannot wait, because I think that Captain America during World War II is a ripe chance for action-adventure, and who doesn't love killing Nazis?
Everybody does. But look, it's just a really fresh take on a time period that we don't usually see Marvel playing with in video games.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Like, doing something original like this, it could be really fun. And again, the movies have made it possible for this. And let's just say they've had plenty of chances here now with Marvel and gaming to get this right. And I think that they will. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's going to be it's going to be great. For sure.
It's an interesting time period, too, when you think about it, because it's really before the U.S.'s full engagement in Europe, right? So it's an interesting setup to see if it leads up to D-Day.
Yeah, no, I am curious. I'm just trying to look up because I want to. I think it's T'Chaka, actually.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's just the grandfather of T'Challa. That's what,
yes. Yeah, I apologize if I missed. I said if I messed up the grandfather's name, I apologize. I am trying to look that up quickly, and it's not the internet is not helping me.
Right, it's okay.
So, because again, it's not something I want to screw up for folks, but it's look, it's been in development for almost 5 years. It's not going to come out until 2025. And you don't get a lot of news typically out of GDC, but the fact that this came out was a great fun surprise for for GDC because it's usually not a news-driven show. But yeah, and I think I'm not saying his name's Azuri. I think this is Azuri.
We'll find out.
We'll figure it out. I'm again apologize.
You're fine, buddy. None of us know, so it's a new thing for us.
Yeah, you don't usually get a lot with T'Challa's grandfather, so that's why I apologize that I'm not familiar with that aspect of Black Panther history. Anyway, moving on now in games. Last thing in games, actually, there's also a little bit of other news that came out of GDC is obviously Game Developers Conference. A lot of chances for a lot of people talking, doing panels and whatnot. And it was basically hinted at, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, but that Xbox is exploring that the next Xbox might be handheld. They might go the way of the Nintendo Switch, where they might go, they see the success of the Switch. They see, obviously, that there might be an opportunity there. And again, this is only a rumor. Microsoft has already proven that it's more powerful than the PlayStation 5 with the Xbox Series X. At least it goes Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S. But, that's, again, if you're splitting hairs. But the fact that it might be handheld is fascinating because this isn't Nintendo's had basically this part of the market monopolized for decades. Sony tried several times with the PSP and the PS Vita and failed terribly to make even a dent in the handheld market. But here comes Microsoft, and again, this is just a rumor. There's been no confirmation, but that it sounds like they are exploring that the next Xbox might be handheld. Lee, your thoughts?
Ray, we do not need consoles anymore. I've been saying this for a long time. Okay, so this is what I actually think is going to happen. I think that if it's not this generation, I'll be very surprised. You don't even need a console anymore. You just need a subscription. If Xbox is smart, if any of these companies are smart and they want to make a lot of money, do not sell a $300 to $500 console anymore. Sell a controller that connects to your TV. Sell a handheld device that you can bring with you. Sell a subscription for your phone. Sell multiple ways to play. Not one, right? Yeah. The brilliance of the Switch is it connects to anything, right? You don't even need a console anymore. The streaming services are actually strong enough in most places now. You can just buy an Xbox subscription, download the app, and you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong. All right. So if they're smart, they'll make the different options of we got a very expensive controller now that you can sync Bluetooth to your TV. Or if you want to take it on the go, buy our Xbox Mobile, buy both. There's a bundle, and it's probably going to end up being the same amount as a console would be and look a lot better because now you get 2 or 3 things for the price of one. Yeah. That's what I think is going to happen, right? Nintendo has changed the game with literally and figuratively with the Switch of, look, no, we don't have to be locked into our TV anymore. I think the Xbox moniker is going to be play anywhere you want. Play on your TV, play on your phone, play on our handheld device. Play on your computer. Like that's what they should be doing. They could take over the PC market if they wanted to with that. And they're pretty equipped to do that.
Yes.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they kind of have a almost a monopoly on the PC.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, people enough time's gone by. You've got to get apps for your television, you got to get apps for your phone and your computer. Why would you not sync them all together? Where like you have a subscription to Xbox and there's different ways to play. Right. Yeah. And pick your poison. Pick the way you want to play. If you don't want to play on your TV, that's fine. Just get the handheld. Right. But like that's what I expect is the next Xbox is going to be the bundle will be the controller, the portable device, and an annual subscription to Xbox.
Yeah.
For the low cost of probably $299 or less.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why the Switch is so successful too, is that the price point is it lowers a barrier of entry for a lot of folks.
Again, listen. I'm sorry. This would be the bundle. Game Pass, Xbox subscriptions, a little different. Like they go hand in hand. Controller, portable.
Yeah.
And potentially the subscription goes across all platforms.
Yeah, that would make a ton of sense. You already got Game Pass that's going across PC and Xbox now. And again, like you said, these devices going on the road, being able to make the devices portable, that's like the last frontier for something like the Xbox.
Well, not to mention, Ray, and here's the biggest expense, and this is where they make their money, is the reason you have a console now is just for storage, really.
Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, it's not doing much more than that. right? So why would you not sell Microsoft Xbox cloud storage? Okay, you need 100 gigs, you need a terabyte. Here's your monthly plan.
Yeah.
You make the money right there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, look, we known that they're working on the next thing. We known that, like, Microsoft confirmed that a while ago. Whatever it is, I think that they've got some really good ideas. And even if it isn't handheld, I'm excited to see what is. The fact that they're already talking about what's next is a good sign for the industry. And goodness knows, we could use some of that right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm excited about this. And look, I'm not trying to pat myself. I've been calling this for well over 2 years now.
Yeah,
that the console generations are done. If you have why do you need a console?
Yeah. Well, and we've been talking about this too, just physical games in general. They almost did away with it this generation, and they held on for one more.
It's like who's buying DVDs now?
Collectors.
CDs.
That's about it.
Yeah, and look, don't get me wrong. There are people that don't have the means, and I understand that. All right, but the technology moves as technology moves, right? Like no one's buying DVDs anymore. No one's renting DVDs anymore, right? And that was not that long ago.
There's a reason why Best Buy did away with the entire section from their store.
Yeah, everything is cloud. And here's the thing: it's a cool time to be in a technological world. The other thing too, we're not talking about is just VR. I mean, Xbox VR. It could be another thing that you buy.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of different things here that are changing. And just traditionalists have to let it go. I don't need a console anymore. I don't.
No.
My TV can handle it.
Yeah.
Right. What you need is a strong Wi-Fi connection.
I was going to say, can your internet? The only question is, can your internet connection handle it?
Yeah, and that's where things could get a little different for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also very quickly want to say I was right. It was T'Chanda. It was T'Chanda. Right. And then T'Chaka, of course, is his son, aka T'Challa's father, and then of course T'Challa, who is the Black Panther that we know and love. Azuri is his royal name, but I was right. It was T'Chanda originally.
You got it. No doubts.
I know. Well, I just wanted to make sure that everything was clarified.
You're good, man. You're a pro.
I try.
Mash up again. We're going to be talking Ohtani and superhero duos and who's most likely to screw each other over. Yes, that is coming later this week. But for now, thank you all for listening and or watching. We appreciate it. For Lee, I am Ray. That's the end of the show, everybody. This is another episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. We will see you next time. Bye.